Today on Stock Charts in Focus, we're showing you how to find the absolute best stocks in the S&P 500 or any other index that you want to search. Using a couple of simple tools that you have available to you for your chart lists, you can build up a list full of all those index components, the S&P 500, 100, the NASDAQ 100, anything that you want to search, and you can easily rank all of those to find the best stocks in that group. Super simple, but a super powerful little trick. And today's show is actually inspired by a special that's coming out on StockCharts TV next week. So we got a lot to talk about on the show, a lot to show you. Of course, you know what it is. It's all new. It's all here. It's StockCharts in Focus. All right, my friends, welcome to the show, Stock Charts in Focus. Of course, our product focus show here on the channel where we dig into the site, dive into the tools, show you around the features, and ultimately help you get more value out of stock charts. That is our mission here every Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on StockCharts TV, and of course also up on our YouTube channel after that, and the on-demand platform at StockChartsTV.com. Lots of different ways to watch. My name is Grayson Roze, Vice President of Operations here at StockCharts.com, and today's show is something a little bit unique. So we did a little bit of recording earlier this week. We are putting out a new special coming out on StockCharts TV next week. This is a very unique stock draft, as we're calling it. Dave Keller hosted 8 experts, myself included. We got all of us together on a call there, and everyone was asked to pick 2 stocks from the S&P 100. But the unique twist on it was that we made it a bit of a draft. So if you're familiar with the way that a draft works, we put everyone in order, kind of randomized the order, and the first person got to pick their top choice, top stock from the S&P 100. We went through the list all the way from number 1 to number 8, and then the 8th presenter got to pick their second stock from the S&P 100, and we went back up the list. So we did this very interesting, very fun, very dynamic presentation there on StockCharts TV. It's coming out next week. The stock draft, though, with everyone picking their top selections from the S&P 100, sort of drafting 2 stocks. Now, I had a blast on this special. It was a ton of fun. I definitely want you all to tune in next week for that special when it comes out on Wednesday. But it got me thinking this week. Again, we did the recording this week, and it's going to come out next week. It takes a little bit of editing time to get those things together. But it got me thinking, not only was this a ton of fun, not only did I have a blast with all my fellow experts on this panel, it was also a fantastic exercise. It was really a great opportunity to kind of dig into a specific group and think about how you rank all of the charts in that group, how you select something from a group of 30 like the Dow, or from a group of 100 like the S&P 100, or a broader index like the S&P 500. We all had a ton of fun on this special. But I think what we heard also in the conversations and everything was that a lot of us got a ton out of it, just as a little exercise to go through, kind of a stock picking exercise. So that, of course, got me thinking about this show, got me thinking about ways to help you guys get more value out of stock charts. And it was a really interesting kind of idea that popped into my head. Hey, let's take that stock draft concept. Let's take the idea of filtering a specific group, a specific index, all the components in that, like the S&P 100, the S&P 500. Let's show the folks on Stock Charts in Focus how to do that themselves. Now, there are 2 interesting things about this. One, you can use this as your own little exercise. It's kind of fun to do this for different groups, and it's just a great way to learn more about stock picking and kind of, boost your stock picking skills. But also, in the real world, this is a great way to find stocks. If you want to limit your sort of investable landscape to a specific group, this is a great way to actually find some charts that are working out there right now. Find some strong setups, some breakouts to new highs, or if you're trading the other side, find some moves to new lows, those kinds of things. So on today's show, we're going to have a ton of fun basically going through that process that we went through for this stock draft. What we're going to do is show you how to create a chart list for a specific group. We're going to do this with the S&P 500, but we'll show you how to do it with other groups as well. We're going to create a chart list for that group. Then we're going to show you how to rank all of the members of that chart list. and then how you can start to sort of filter out your favorites, your top choices from that list. We're going to do this in SharpCharts. We're going to do this in ACP. So regardless of which world you are using, which charting type you are using, you're going to get something out of this show. So going to be a lot of fun. Let's take a quick jump over to the site, dive into our chart lists, and have some fun picking the top stocks from the S&P 500. Here we go. All right, everyone. So we are here on the members dashboard. Of course, the heart and soul of StockCharts, as I like to say, this is the first page that you see when you log in. And what we've just done actually is added a new feature with our latest release to this page. You now have your SharpCharts chart lists on this page, but you also have your ACP chart list on this page. So that's going to be really helpful for our show today. We're going to demonstrate some of those features. To get to our chart list, of course, we're going to scroll over to the right side of the page, navigate over there, click that chart list button, and that's going to take us right down to all of our chart lists. So again, just to repeat that, what we're going to do on today's show is we're going to create a brand new chart list in our account, and we're going to fill that with all of the stocks from the S&P 500. That's going to give us our group, basically our list of all those components that we can start to filter through. We're then going to rank that list. We're going to show you how to use the scooters to rank that list, and then we'll show you how to actually review the charts in that ranked order, which can help you find your top choices. Now, what's new on this page, just to touch on it really quickly, you now have tabs over on this page for the two different kind of chart types, the two different charting worlds that we have on the site. So of course, you can create chart lists in SharpCharts, but you can also create chart lists for ACP. So you can see that I can switch over between these two. They are a little bit different, but if I jump over to the ACP ones and I click on any of these lists, it's going to open up ACP with that list in the platform. If I stay on the SharpCharts world, just like it's always been, clicking any of these is going to open up that SharpCharts chart list. You do also have the ability to create new lists from over here and edit the ones that you have in your account. So if you wanted to ever bulk delete anything, by the way, you can hit that edit tab. You'll see that these pop up. And if I scroll all the way to the bottom of this page, I've got a ton of lists there. As soon as I check something, this little delete lists button pops up. So a couple of different options that you have there for your chart list as we get all the way back up to the top. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off that edit tab. What we're going to do in SharpCharts first and then in ACP, we're going to create a new chart list, and then we're going to fill that with the S&P 500. So I'm actually going to do this from the dashboard right here. Going to hit that new button, and I am going to keep this one up at the top actually. I'm going to use my little numbering system, starring system here. That's going to sort of force this up to the top of my chart list. But we're just going to create a chart list called S&P 500 components. Actually, we'll do S&P 500 members. There we go. So I've typed in that name. Now we're going to hit create new list, and this takes us right over to the edit page. So we've created an empty SharpCharts chart list in our account. Now, if you've created chart lists in the past, you're probably familiar with kind of how this page looks. And down at the bottom, when this is empty, here on the edit page, you've got a couple of different options. You can add one stock at a time, enter in a symbol, a name, even type in any comments that you want. Or you can add in a whole list of symbols here separated by commas. The one, though, that I love to use and the one that we're going to focus on today is the other option here, from group. So when you navigate over to that from group tab, this is actually going to allow you to fill in this chart list with predefined groups that are out there in the market. Things like the Dow components, things like the S&P 500 components. It's really, really easy to fill in a chart list with all of those members. So from this from predefined groups menu, we're going to open that up. You can see that we've got all of our S&P groups here. We've got our Dow groups there. We've also got the NASDAQ 100, the TSE 300, different sectors, lots of stuff in here. For today's show, though, we're going to focus on the large caps. We're going to focus on the S&P 500. So we're going to select that from the menu, and then we're just going to hit Add Charts. Now, it's going to take a second to fill those in, but you can see up here in Charts and List, we've now added all 500 of the S&P 500 members to this chart list. The way these are going to be added, they're going to use your default chart style. So whatever you set as your default from the SharpCharts workbench, whatever your kind of go-to chart is, that's going to get applied to all of these. But you've got all 500 of those in here now, all 500 of those S&P 500 members. Now, just a quick note, these chart lists don't get automatically updated for you. So if the group changes in the future, if there's a shake up to the S&P 500 or any group that you've sort of created with one of these lists, you will have to go in and kind of recreate this. But it's very easy to sort of replace this list. All you have to do is hit that little button up at the top, scroll all the way down to the bottom. It's a long list. And then you can actually delete those and kind of just start this process over. You also have a select all button down here at the bottom as well. So I'm going to actually unselect all of those. But now what we've done is we've created our chart list with all the S&P 500 members. So now we're going to start to rank this. We're going to start to filter out the ones that we like and the ones that we don't like. So we've got a couple of different ways to do this. For starters, what we're actually going to do is jump over to the summary page. So we're now viewing the S&P 500 members in that kind of classic summary view. You can customize all the columns in this. We've actually just added a whole bunch of new options here for the summary view. So you can add a whole bunch of different technical indicators like different moving averages, RSI and ATR, even things like earnings per share and PE ratios for all of these S&P 500 stocks. That's a pretty interesting one for this. So if we turn on any of these, you can see that those will automatically appear. For instance, we could rank things by the 50-day simple moving average, the distance from that. We got a whole bunch of different options in here. We'll turn on a couple of these just so you can see them. You turn those on, they appear on the right side of this page. But we've got all 500 of our stocks in here. Now, these by default are just going to be listed alphabetically. You can see that we start with the A's, and as we go down, it's just going to be alphabetical. We want to rank these, though, in some kind of intelligent way. We don't want to have to sift through 500 charts. That's a ton. So this is where the Scooter is an incredibly helpful tool. You've got a column in here for Scooter, SCTR. If you're not familiar with what this is the StockCharts technical rank. It is the same technical criteria based on John Murphy's approach, originally sort of designed in partnership with John. We based this on kind of his approach to technical analysis and to stocks and things like that, using some of the technical indicators that he likes. The StockCharts technical rank, though, is the exact same technical criteria applied to all of the stocks in a group. So we do put these into universes, and so the rankings aren't directly comparable across universes. You've got a universe for large caps, a universe for mid caps, a universe for small caps. You can't necessarily compare them across those. But the beauty of something like the S&P 500 is that, as you can see, pretty much everything is going to be classified as a large cap. Now, there are going to be some smaller components that sort of trip us up here, but in general, all of these are going to be large caps for the most part. So what that means that we can do is rank this list by the Scooter score. Now, even though technically the large caps and the mid caps, for instance, aren't directly comparable numbers, the criteria is exactly the same. So even if we rank this list by Scooter, which is that, again, that StockCharts technical rank, we can still kind of use those numbers to gauge strength, because we know that no matter what universe the specific stock is in, the same technical criteria is applied to all of those different universes. So to gauge this list, to sort of rank it from the strongest charts to the weakest charts, we're going to use the Scooter, and it's very easy to do this. We'll demonstrate it too for you here in just a sec. All I'm going to do to rank this list is click on Scooter. You can see that this is now ranked from highest Scooter scores to lowest Scooter scores. Again, if you're not familiar with the Scooter, it goes from 0 to 100. So everything has a number from 0 to 100. 100 is going to be the strongest, and 0 is going to be the weakest. And it's just technical criteria. It's just how strong this chart is. Again, kind of based on some of those technical indicators that matter to John Murphy and matter to us here at StockCharts. So the strength of this is very simple to demonstrate. If we look at Oxy, for instance, we can open this up. We can see that this is an incredibly strong chart. This is a strong uptrend. It's actually outperformed the total market by 360% in the last year and a half. So this has been an incredibly strong name. Oxy has really earned that 99.6 there on the Scooter score. Now, if we scroll all the way down to the bottom of this list and we pull up the weakest Scooter score, CEG, that one doesn't even have one. If we pull up the weakest Scooter score, Netflix, we can click on that chart and we can see that technically this is an incredibly weak name. So this has earned its scooter score down here at 0.0, obviously. So that's kind of the strength of the scooter in a simple demonstration, sort of demonstrating the extremes. But the point is that in general, everything up at the top of this list is going to be strong from a technical perspective, and everything at the bottom is going to be pretty weak from a technical perspective. Now, things up in the 90s might feel a little bit stretched. Things might be starting to rebound if they're in the 20s or the 30s or something like that. But still, if we're looking for the strongest stocks in the S&P 500, we can come here, we can create this list, rank it by the scooter score, and we can start to filter through this list. It's very, very easy to do that. So we've got one option here, which is to open up these charts individually, one at a time, and start to review each one from the top down to the bottom. That's a little inefficient though. We could open these up in new tabs and check out each one, but that is not the cleanest way to do this. So we're going to rank this list. Again, we've ranked it using that scooter score from top to bottom. And then we're going to take advantage of one little feature here on the summary page that you might not have used before. We're going to scroll all the way back down to the bottom of this page really quickly. And we're going to look for this button down at the bottom. It's a little bit buried, but it's an incredibly helpful little feature. It's called number in sorted order. So we've ranked this, we've ordered this list in terms of those scooter scores, and now we're going to number everything in this order. We're going to hit that. It says, are you sure? We're going to hit OK. Give it a second to work here. And what that's going to do is rename everything in the list, as you can see, with a numbering system in the order that we ranked that list. So now the order actually hasn't changed, still ranked by scooter. But you can see that if we kind of go back to that default way that this was ordered and we hit that name column, it's not really going to change now. We've got the same order to this list. The strength of that is that now we can go to any of the other chart list views, which are going to be ordered alphabetically, and we can start to review these charts in that scooter ranked order. So we can jump over to something like the new scroll view page. And the first one up in the list now, instead of being an A chart, the first one up in the list is going to be our strongest scooter score, Occidental Petroleum. So we can now scroll through this entire chart list, and we can find the ones that really work for us, work for our system. Now you could do this in the reverse order too. If you're playing the short side, you could number these in the opposite order. You could sort of rank it from low to high on those scooter scores and then number in that sorted order. You could number it by any other sorted order. If you wanted to rank these by PE ratios or earnings per share, if you wanted to rank them by RSI values, anything that you want to do, percentage change over a specific time period, you got lots of different options on that summary view. But once you rank those, they will be numbered in that order, and you can then jump over to some of those charting views and sort of review them in that ranked order. Very easy to do. So this was actually how I arrived at my decisions for the S&P 100 stock draft that we did earlier this week, that episode that's coming out on Wednesday of this upcoming week. This is exactly what I did. I took all of the S&P 100 members. We were focused on the S&P 100 there. Took all those S&P 100 members, created a chart list with it, ranked it in scooter order, and then I numbered it in that sorted order and just went from the top down to find my picks, to find the charts that I thought were setting up the best from the S&P 100. So we can start to scroll through this. We're doing basically the exact same thing, but here with the S&P 500, we can start to scroll through all these charts. And if we wanted to delete any of them, maybe we want to actually filter this down to just our favorites. We could note them on the side, but we could also actually delete the ones that we don't like. And then when we go through the entire list of 500, we'll kind of end up with just our favorites. So maybe you think that Dollar Tree is a little bit too stretched. Well, you can go ahead and delete it. Now it's going to be taken out of that list. Maybe you think that Mosaic is setting up here for a bit of a pullback and maybe a bounce coming up next week. So you might want to leave Mosaic in there, for instance. CF Industries, maybe you feel the same way. McKesson, maybe you feel that one's a little bit stretched, so you delete them. So this is where you can start to sort of filter out this list, slim it down, and just focus on those strongest stocks. So this is, again, exactly what I did to arrive at my conclusions. I don't want to give away which ones I picked, but they are in this group as well. So this is a great way to find those strongest stocks in the S&P 500, the S&P 100. You could do this with the Dow 30, any group that you want to do. It's really easy to create one of these lists and then start to review these charts just like we're doing here. It makes it easy to scroll through these. And again, the benefit of numbering them in that sorted order is that in our case, instead of scrolling through everything alphabetically and hoping that the next one up is a good chart, because we've ranked these using that scooter score, that everything at the top of this chart list is going to be pretty strong. At least it's going to be a reasonable chart to look at. And that everything further down the list is just going to be kind of not worth your time, maybe if you're playing the long side. Again, if you're playing the short side, maybe that all reverses. You want to start with those low scooters, whatever you want to do. But this makes it really easy to create a list with one of these groups and just start to review those charts in the order that's going to make sense to you. You can note these down. Maybe you add some comments here on the ones that are working. So maybe you're feeling like Nielsen is setting up for a breakout here. Maybe you want to note that on there. Maybe you like what you're seeing on Vertex or Archer Daniels Midland. Maybe you want to note something on that. You can always add comments here. All you got to do is click on there to add a specific comment. So you got all the same options for this list that you have with your traditional chart list views. Makes it really easy to review these. So that is how you can start to filter out one of these groups, put them all on a list, rank them, and start to review those charts to find the strongest opportunities. Now, by the way, you do have a couple other options in here. If you click on any of these charts, it will open that in a new tab, so you can do that. You can also annotate any of these charts from scroll view. I love to point this out to people. So you can actually open up this actions menu, hit annotate, and if you wanted to add any annotations to any of these charts, maybe draw some support and resistance lines, draw some trend lines, you do have those options. Really easy to do, and then you can just save that, and those annotations will be saved to the chart in this chart list. You can also jump over to, actually something that I kind of like to do is open up the edit tab open up the edit view in a new tab. And as I'm going through the list, maybe I'm scrolling through and I say, hey, Occidental is looking pretty good. Okay, I'll jump back over to my edit page. I'll give that one a check. Maybe I keep scrolling a little bit. Okay, that one's a little stretched. Mosaic might be setting up for a rebound here. Okay, we'll go in and check Mosaic, let's say. So once I've sort of gone through the whole list and I've checked the ones from the edit page that I like, I can then move those to another list, maybe a watch list, maybe any other list in my account, or just create a whole new list with those members, and I can start to filter that list down even further. So I actually like to kind of work off of scroll view and the edit tab, the edit view in two separate tabs, kind of bounce back and forth between those two. I find that when I'm doing one of these kind of list filtering sessions, that's really, really helpful for me. So tons of different options there for you. So that is kind of our quick SharpCharts tour, how you can do this with SharpCharts. Now what we're going to do is just repeat this process, but for ACP. So we're going to jump back over to the dashboard. Here we are on the dashboard. And like I said, we're going to click that chart list button. We've now got this new tabbed feature on the dashboard for your chart list. So you can tab on over to ACP charts. That's going to show you all of your ACP chart lists. Again, SharpCharts and ACP, kind of separate worlds. You can cross over quite a bit between them. I do that, to be honest. I still use both platforms at different times for different purposes. But you have this new option to access your ACP chart list right from the dashboard here. And as part of that, you've got the same edit and new tab. So if you do want to bulk delete any of your ACP chart lists, you can always do that from this page. But you can also create new ACP chart lists right from the dashboard. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. We're going to create a list that is the same S&P 500 members. We're going to add that. Maybe we'll do dashes on this one instead of stars. So we're going to create that new chart list, hit new, and that is going to create that. Little character bug there. That's going to create that chart list though in our account. If we give that a click, we can see that we're now going to launch over to ACP, and we're going to have that chart list created in our account. So we can now start to add symbols to this. So just like we did there with SharpCharts, we can add symbols to this list from a specific group. We've actually got two places that we can do this. When you jump over to this list at the very beginning, it obviously prompts you to add some symbols, just like we had on the edit page. You can give that a click, and that's going to launch a modal that's got some similar options to what we had for SharpCharts. You can add one symbol at a time, you can add multiple symbols separated by commas, or you can add from a specific group. All you've got to do is select the group that you want to add from, and you can fill that in. Before we do that though, I want to also show you that you have access to this list from down in the drawer. So you can access your chart lists in ACP from sort of two different locations, down in the drawer at the bottom of the screen or in the chart list sidebar on the right side of the screen. So whichever one kind of works for you. Here in the drawer though, you've got a couple of tabs similar to what we had there with our chart list views for SharpCharts. One of those tabs is Edit. So when you jump over to that Edit tab, you've got, in this case, it's a blank list, so it's giving you the same prompt. But you can do all of those same editing actions for this chart list, just like we had with SharpCharts. So we're going to close this down. We're going to hit Add Symbols, and we're going to jump back over to From Group. We will select the S&P 500. We got our large caps there. We're going to hit Add. Give it a second to populate that list. We get our little success message there. And we can see we now have all 500 of our S&P 500 stocks in this chart list. So what's really cool is that this is going to do the exact same thing. It's going to create all of these with our default style. We can also load in sort of a funky style here in the middle of the screen, turn on that load symbol only checkbox. And if we wanted to view this with something other than what gets saved to the list, we can actually do that really easily. So for instance, if I actually turn this off, you'll see that this loads with my default style. I'll give that a click. So here is my kind of default chart style. That's what's going to be saved to this chart. But if I hit load symbol only, we come over here to the left sidebar. And let's say I wanted to view this with something totally unique, like a parabolic SAR style that I have. Sometimes I like to kind of zoom in on the parabolic SAR as just one specific indicator. This is an interesting kind of stop setting tool that we have available to us. So let's say that I wanted to review everything in this list with this sort of custom style instead of the chart that's actually been saved here in the list. If I turn on that load symbol only checkbox, that means that when I click this, the only thing that's going to get pulled into the chart is the symbol. It's not going to sort of overwrite the chart that's in the middle of the screen. So I can now hit 3M again. You can see that it loaded, but instead of using that saved style, it loaded using the chart that I actually had sort of populated already in the middle of the screen. So I can now click through this list, and you can see this is going to use that style, that sort of custom parabolic SAR style. If I turn that load symbol only off and I start to click through this again, you can see that it'll go back to sort of the saved settings that I have. So a couple of different interesting options there in ACP. I find that this makes it really, really easy to review a chart list with a couple of different perspectives. You can sort of turn this toggle on and off, flip between the style that's saved, but then also, jump over to a daily style, jump over to a weekly style, jump over to a custom set of indicators that you want to review a chart list with, anything that you want to do. You've got some interesting options there. But we're going to do the exact same kind of ranking approach here with our ACP chart list. Now we got that quick tour out of the way there of the sidebar. We're actually going to close down the sidebar and we're going to open this list up in the drawer. So here we've got our S&P 500 stocks, and we can now jump back over to our summary tab, which is going to look very similar to what we had with SharpCharts. We've got some of those same columns here, and you notice that we have a column for Scooter. So we can actually give that a click. That's going to sort again by Scooter scores from top to bottom. This is going to look very, very similar. It's the exact same list sorted by the exact same criteria. What's interesting here is that we don't have to do that number by sorted order thing or anything like that. We can actually make this drawer just a little bit shorter here. We'll grab that, narrow this down. There we go. So we can make that a little bit shorter. Here in ACP, we don't have to do that because we can click on the items in a chart list and just load that chart right up there on the screen. We can sort of have the chart list and the charts on the same page at the same time. So in this case, we can actually sort this by the Scooter scores. We can see that down at the bottom. I can click Oxy here. It's going to pull up our Oxy chart. And now we can actually just use the little toggles or our arrow keys to sort of flip through this list. So we've sorted it by Scooter order, Scooter rank, and we can now click through this list using these little arrows. So there we are, on to our next chart, and we could just keep going through this entire list. We could sort this by some other criteria if we wanted. We've got plenty of different options here in ACP. We can do the exact same thing though. The same methodology applies. Sorting this by the Scooter order, going from top to bottom and reviewing those charts to find the strongest stocks within a specific group. Again, on this edit page, by the way, we can add things from a couple of different groups. So we've got the same options here. I'll click that add symbols menu. That's going to pop this up. In our from group menu, again, we've got different options for the Dow components, some of those different S&P components, the NASDAQ 100. We've got all those same options here in that from groups menu. So the exact same strategy applies between SharpCharts and ACP. Those same features exist in both platforms. So no matter what chart type you are using, you can do the same thing, use the same approach, again, to find the strongest stocks in the S&P 500 or any other index that you want to track. So that is our show for today. We ran through quite a lot there in SharpCharts and in ACP, but hopefully had a little bit of fun showing you some stock picking strategies for some of these groups. Now, I find that this is a great way to obviously find new stocks that you might want to buy. Take one of these groups, filter out those lists, find the strongest charts in that group. But also, this is just a fantastic exercise for all of us as technicians to go through. A great way to sort of build up our stock picking, stock comparison routines and our approach to filtering a list like this. At the end of the day, there are so many stocks out there across all of these different groups, so many different ways to cut and slice this pie that is the total market. And so doing this exercise, maybe starting with the Dow because that's just a group of 30, maybe starting with the S&P 100 because that's a little bit bigger, or the NASDAQ 100 before you jump up to something like the S&P 500. No matter which group you choose, this little exercise of taking that group, taking all those components, putting them in the same place, and then figuring out how you would sort of pick and choose your favorites, pick the winners, pick the laggards. It's a great exercise. All of us on this stock draft panel that we did earlier this week just had a blast doing this. So I wanted to share this process with you, give you guys an opportunity to kind of learn how to do the same thing. And you can take this, again, out into the real world yourself. You can make this a part of your process. Maybe every week you want to run through all the components of the S&P 500, see what's setting up, see what's weakening, anything that you want to do there. You can do it using some of these ChartList tools. So definitely catch that stock draft presentation that's coming out on StockCharts TV on Wednesday. We'll have more information for you on the channel and on our StockCharts TV pages, of course, as we get a little closer to that. But it was a blast. We had a lot of fun. And I got to say, there were some great picks, a lot of great analysis in that presentation. I think you're really going to enjoy it. So anyways, that's going to do it for us here on StockCharts in Focus for this week's show. I want to thank you so much for joining me on the show today. Of course, we do this every Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on the live channel, also up on our YouTube channel after that, and StockChartsTV.com, our on-demand platform. Lots of different ways to watch, but really just every Friday, taking a look at some of the tools and features around the site, ultimately helping you get more value out of StockCharts. Again, that's our mission here on this show every week. So hope you'll join me on next week's show and the weeks after that as we continue to just explore different corners of StockCharts, help you see all the tools and features that are out there, help you get more value out of all of it. My name is Grayson Roze, Vice President of Operations here at StockCharts.com. It's been a blast to be with you. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode, on this week's edition. I'll see you back here very soon for another edition of StockCharts in Focus. But until then, chart on, my friends.
Hey guys, Dave Keller here with StockCharts.com. Thanks so much for watching our video. If you enjoyed it, and we hope you did, hit the like button right below. Also, we have so much new content every day. Consider subscribing to the channel. Just hit the subscribe button in the video or right below. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Have a fantastic day.